All right, this video will go over how to connect to an SSH server. We're going to be connecting via SSH to our server to do our class things. And to do that, we need three pieces of information. We need our username, our password, and the host name or IP address of the system we're going to connect to. We need that information, and then we need an SSH client. So I'm going to go through some of the different SSH clients you might choose to use to connect to an SSH server. First, I'm going to go through the Linux way. Here's a Linux VM that I make available to my class. If you're using this Linux VM, you can open a terminal. And once the terminal opens, you will connect with this command, SSH-L, then specify the username. This is my username. If you're in my class connecting to my server, your username will be the first part of your Hawkmail account. So it'd be 3 letters and then 4 or 5 numbers. Then I need to specify the host name of the server we're connected to. In this case, we're connecting to cntserve.hack.edu. So that's the command. SSH-L tells it what to log in as, the username, and then the host name. Your password will be your H number with a capital H. The very first time you connect, it will ask you to verify this fingerprint, which I will paste into D2L so you can verify that you are indeed checking my server. So you'll want to verify that, and then you'll say yes, and then it'll store that, and then you put your password in. As I said, your password is your H number with a capital H. Once you put your password in, you're logged in, and then you can get started on the things we need to do. I'm not going to go through any things we need to do because we don't need to do anything right now. We're just trying to get connected. So after you connect for the first time, it stores that host key, so you do not have to accept that key every time. So that's how you do it from a Linux terminal. If you have a Mac, you can open terminal, and the command is going to be the same thing. So that would be the command I would use on my Mac. Not actually going to run it right now. Windows has always been a bit of a different beast. I've been SSHing into servers for 25 years at least. And for most of those 25 years, if you wanted SSH from Windows, you needed some third-party software in order to make that happen. But lately, Windows has been more inclusive, if you will, and it started including some Linux-type things within the operating system. With Windows 10, you can get a bash subsystem for Linux, which I'll show you that in a minute. But by far, the easiest way to connect nowadays on Linux is to go and open either a command prompt or a PowerShell. I'm going to do a command prompt. I type start. I hit start, type CMD. The command prompt showed up, and I clicked on it. So once the command prompt starts, now you can magically use that same SSH command to connect from Windows to the remote server. This is awesome, quite honestly. For so many years, you had to get something else on Windows. Same thing, you would want to verify the key when you connect, say yes, and then put your password. So that's one way you can connect on Windows. Windows, I mentioned a moment ago, has the Linux subsystem, and you can install the full Linux install within your Windows environment. If you wanted to install that, I'll post a link, and you can go install that. But then, same thing, once you start your bash subsystem, same command. And that'll get me connected. It asks me for the key again, password, and I'm connected. Finally, if you don't want to use either of those methods, back in the olden days, before we had built-in methods, you could use third-party software to connect. In this case, I've got MOBA Xterm that I'm going to use to connect with my third-party software. If you want to use MOBA Xterm, you go to Session, SSH. The remote host is going to be cntserve.hack.edu. Your username will be the first part of your Hawkmail account. Mine is RBE10000. Right? It'll ask you for your password. It's like, do you want to save your password? No, I never want to save my password. So this accomplished the same thing as the others, but it got you connected with this little GUI window. There is one benefit of this way of doing things. You can drag and drop files between the two. With the other methods, we're going to have to use secure copy to copy files. But say if you wanted to copy a file, you can just drag it over, and it's going to copy it down. Wow. Same thing if you want to drag it up. Let me change the name of this file. If you want to drag a file up, it copies up like that. So if you find yourself having trouble with the SCP secure copy syntax, you could use MobaXterm to connect. So if you're actually in my class and you're wondering, so Rich, which one should I use? Well, it depends. I've said for years, and I'll continue saying it, I'm not going to support your Windows system. So if you want to use one of the Windows clients, that's great. But if you have problems that might be caused by security software, anti-malware software, anything you else have on your Windows system, I'm not going to spend a great deal of time trying to help you figure that out. My recommended and the main supported way we'll connect is with this Linux VM. So if you run into issues with your Windows, I'm probably going to point you to the Linux VM. That doesn't mean that the Windows doesn't work. People have been using the Windows version and methods to connect for many semesters, and it's worked pretty much without issue as far as I can remember. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to be trying to solve your Windows workstation problems should you run into any. If you have a Mac, terminal is absolutely a fine way to connect. There's no need for you to do anything extra. We can do everything we need to do from the Mac in the terminal. And like I said, Windows works fine most of the time. But pre-warning, I'm not going to solve your Windows problems for you should you run into Windows problems. So with that being said, if I was primarily a Windows user, I would probably just use SSH from the command prompt because it's already there. It seems to work okay, and I don't know. That's what I would use if I was a Windows user at this point in time.